You know, and it was one of those kinds of cases that things just kept spiraling on and on and on. And the further we got into it, the more stuff we kept finding. I mean, there was prostitution all over the place. There was prostitution at a little store just down the street from the dispatch on North George Street on the second floor. They were doing massages and committing sexual acts. In fact, we subsequently found out in checking state police documents that the state police had raided the place. Not raided the place, but they sent an agent in there who had apparently first time around had a sexual act performed and nothing was done. It wasn't until like 6 or 7 months later, when he went back in with another officer at the time, that they filed charges.
Okay.
And the state police officer involved in this case, and here I'm going to ramble, way back in the beginning told our private investigator, you don't want to go there. And there were a number of things then that surfaced in terms of what the state police were doing in terms of prostitution and what was going on there.
Now, do you believe that the state police may have been compromised in this whole situation?
There were documents that we had received that related to prostitution arrests that not only went beyond York County, that there were some allegations involving a police, I want to say lieutenant, but again I can't remember at this particular time, that was in charge of investigations that supposedly related to the kind of stuff that we saw at the massage parlor above the insurance agency down on North George Street, in which a police officer actually received sexual favors. There were comments from prostitutes about how the guys would work them. You know, so yes, there were allegations and things presented to us that related to state police involvement in some of this stuff that was beyond the scope of the law. And there were some peculiar things that occurred with drug arrests that would be dismissed or wiped out. Or there was a case involving a York City police officer, a woman by the name of Hibner, who arrested a guy who was sitting in front of a known crack house in his car, and he had a pipe on his dashboard, and she asked him to get out of the car, and she searched the car, and they found a whole bunch of marijuana and money in the trunk of the car. They arrested him. The case went to trial, and it got dropped. It got thrown out as a quote illegal search. DA's office never objected, never put in a word for the cop. We were told via sources that the DA's office said she was a bad cop, when in fact couldn't be further from the truth. But we then subsequently found out that this same dude that had been arrested had apparently been arrested previously, and also the charges had been dropped. So we didn't know at that point whether he was a snitch or whether he was part of the operation and somebody in the DA's office was part of the operation as far as what was going on. It was a gold mine of information if you knew where to look.
Okay.
And
in your estimation as a journalist, reliable information?
Well, we confirmed it more than once.
Okay.
We had it confirmed more than once. We would get a tip, and then we would get something, wasn't necessarily a tip, it would just be information. And then we'd go and try to confirm that particular information. And stuff kept surfacing and surfacing. It was incredible. And there were things that surfaced that there was one ring, for example, one prostitution offer being done out of above a gay bar on West Market Street, only a block from my house.
Now, was this all, in your understanding, was this all part of this Reciprocity Club?
No. Let me explain what the Reciprocity Club was.
Okay.
The Reciprocity Club apparently began out of a Chamber of Commerce organization.
Okay.
In which the guys used to take trips to ball games or so on. And some of the members of this club, I think was called the Renaissance Club, thought it was too tame. They wanted to do something a little bit extra. So they formed their own club called the Reciprocity Club. And they would have outings. They would bring prostitutes. And they would have, there was an outing at a golf course in which they played among the four of them per hole. And whoever would win the hole would get the prostitute. And there were events, there was they apparently rented a restaurant. We never did find out what restaurant it was. And they brought in a greased pig. And they chased the greased pig all over the restaurant. The restaurant was so PO'd that they told them they'll never come back. There were apparently events like that would occur at which prostitutes were involved with. And we had been told that members of the DA's office, including Stan Riebert, had been present at some of these Reciprocity Club events, which of course was a violation of the law. And here you have the chief officer in York County, well, not necessarily participating in some way, he's present at the time that this stuff is going on.
Now,
we were told, and it was interesting, Kowalczyk, Reciprocity Club, we never printed anything on it because we couldn't get the extra element of truth to confirm what was going on, and we didn't quite know where the heck that story fit in with all of this at that point in time.
Which story is that?
The Reciprocity Club. We never printed a story about the Reciprocity Club.
Okay.
That isn't to say we wouldn't have printed one if I had remained at the Dispatch and time had gone on and other stuff had continued to surface. We were told that the Reciprocity Club consisted of not the top level of people in York County, but just below them, that there were some prominent business folks that were members of the Reciprocity Club, a realtor. And there was reason to believe that this was accurate based upon the comments we had. But the Daily Record went out, they kept trying to catch up to us, and they couldn't because they didn't set up the means to get the thing going in the first place. And they didn't have the expertise to deal with the kind of investigative reporting that this required. But Kowalczyk talked to them one day, talked to the reporter, and he had a little black book. A little black book had the names of all the Reciprocity Club members in it.
Now could you just, Kowalczyk was the, so to speak, competitor?
He was the pimp, yeah,
okay.
The competitor.
Okay.
He lined guys up for various prostitute parties and so on that he would conduct. But he had this black book and apparently had the names of all the Reciprocity Club members in it. And the Daily Record had it and didn't know what the heck the Reciprocity Club was.
The Daily Record had the little black book?
Yeah, they got a copy of the little black book.
Okay.
And they went ahead and then they printed this story about a Reciprocity Club, but not even knowing what the hell it was.
Okay.
So there was no mention of sex, whatever, in there. But at this point, I'm sure there were tons of people in York County that are suddenly really, really worried. Because now this document's in the hand of a newspaper. And even though they didn't know what the hell they were doing, it was out there. And Kowalczyk may have done that at the time just out of his own personal revenge. I don't know why he did it, but he did it.
Now, at some point in the course of this investigation, did you develop any information concerning Russell Wantz and the Shad Detective Agency?
Russell Wantz and Shad kept surfacing.
What do you mean kept surfacing?